The writing is on every wall and every square kilometer of southern and eastern Ukraine. With Russia de-escalating in parts of central and western Ukraine, the true devastation is now imminent in the east and the south. This is where the brute strength of Russia's army is going to be concentrated. This is where Ukraine expects that in the next 3 to 4 days, a war and offensives of a much larger intensity is to be expected. India Today's Geeta Mohan and Mosmi Singh report.
It is the next stage of Russian offensive, and it promises to be deadlier, bloodier and more brutal. Weeks into a punishing push into Ukraine amid fierce resistance and reverses in war zones. Putin's invasion army is now planning a mega change of battle tactics. After halting its offensive in and around Kyiv, Russia is preparing an all-out offensive. Targeting Kharkiv, Mariupol, Luhansk and Donetsk. The aim is perhaps to salami slice Ukraine's east and establish a corridor starting from Crimea to all the way to Kharkiv.
With the decision to withdraw forces from western Ukraine, the focus is now on eastern Ukraine. Mariupol almost taken, Volvanaka under Russian control, and this, Donetsk and Luhansk, is the war zone.
So what emerges from the chain strategy is a relentless Russian bombing spree and intensified attacks on Ukraine's southern and eastern parts. Kyiv has told residents of eastern Ukraine regions of Kharkiv, Luhansk and Donetsk to evacuate now or risk death. The governor of Luhansk has warned of a doomsday assault on the city, warning that Russia is building up troops for offensive in a matter of days, revealing that Russian forces are attacking Popasna city with Grad rocket launchers and jets. The massive twist in Russian war game has triggered fears of a prolonged war. NATO chief said there has been no sign that the Russian president has dropped his ambition to control the whole of Ukraine. Has the Ukraine war entered an even more difficult phase? With Geeta Mohan in Donetsk war zone, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now let's show you where things are at, because it is via maps that we can really tell where things are at as far as the Russia's occupation of the eastern parts and the attacks that are taking place in Ukraine is concerned. So let's pull this up. Let's put those maps on our screen for our viewers to show them how things have changed. And this is a map, viewer, that is changing literally every passing hour. Now the blue areas here that you can see make it very clear that areas that used to be red have now turned to blue because Ukraine has wrested back control here. There's been a de-escalation. Russian troops have moved back across the border into Belarus and into Russia. So all the blue regions are places where Ukraine has taken back control. But look at this huge red sweep in the entire southern and eastern parts of Ukraine, including the Donbas region. Crimea was annexed in 2014. Kherson was the first city to fall. Zaporizhia is Europe's largest nuclear facility. Mariupol has fallen to the Russians. This entire area from Kharkiv all the way to Mariupol, this entire crescent on the east, as it were, is now under Russian control, very close to the Russian border. And a lot of fighting is taking place here. This is where Geeta Mohan is situated, and this is where Mosmi, who you saw just now, that's where she is. That's where Gaurav and Rajesh are at this point of time. How, what kind of fighting is taking place? The strategy that's being employed by Russia to dominate eastern Ukraine, which is a stated objective for them, is very clear in this particular map. They had recently taken over the city of Izium. Sloviansk is Russia's next likely target. This is all eastern Ukraine. Remember, we've just zoomed the map in a little bit. There's a farther push to Horlivka, where Geeta had been reporting from there. More Ukrainian troops could be isolated in that particular area, and they could also head to the city of Rubizhne, which is also in that rebel-held Donbas region. So this is how Ukraine is trying to push the Russians back, but the Russians have completely dominated this particular area. Now, as Ukraine continues to reel under back-to-back attacks from the Russians. Claims and counterclaims of war crimes have been flying thick and fast. You heard about what happened in Bucha. You've heard about what has happened in some of the other areas. While Ukraine claims that Russian troops have been bombing a Mariupol hospital and killed over 50 people, Mariupol residents saved by Russian troops claim that Ukraine is the actual side that's been attacking civilians, and it is Ukraine that's responsible for the war crimes. Take a look at this report from Mariupol.
Ukraine's port city Mariupol is facing a catastrophe. Repeated attacks leaving it devastated. Ukraine claims Russia bombarded a children's hospital that charred over 50 people. Since the beginning of the war, over 5,000 people were killed in Mariupol, including 210 children, as per the city's mayor.
They are already launching a false campaign to hide their own guilt in the mass killings of civilians in Mariupol. They will do dozens of staged interviews, re-edited recordings, and will kill people specifically to make it look like they were killed by someone else.
But for each Ukrainian claim, there's a Russian counter. Many residents rescued by Russian troops claimed serious war crimes by the Ukrainian army. Civilians alleged that Ukrainian army entered a hospital and started firing, giving just 15 minutes to civilians to escape before the shooting starts.
They occupied the floor of the traumatology department in the hospital, installed grenade launchers and started shooting. There is another one nearby with probably 100 people, including children and the wounded. So we were told that we were given 15 minutes to evacuate, run or whatever, and then the Ukrainians would mine the entire building. A female sniper and the soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine were in nearby house number 21. They were constantly running from house to house, changing their positions, shooting the civilians, and we witnessed how one woman went out into the street. She was shot right under her feet.
Mariupol residents claimed that the Ukrainians didn't even spare youngsters, and there's no place to bury the dead as graves have been dug everywhere.
When we went to fetch water, they also shot under our feet so that we would not go anywhere. Some pieces of human meat lay around these wells.
A Mariupol resident was shot in the leg while he was allegedly passing by a kindergarten. He says that the Ukrainians have turned kindergartens into bases as they needed convenient positions.
I'm from Mariupol. I have a fractured upper leg joint. The shot went right through. I was passing by a kindergarten. There's of people settled here. We saw how they left the kindergarten in search of convenient positions. They came into our yard. After firing back, they returned to the kindergarten, where their place of deployment was. The previous time they hit in the residential buildings showed their attitude towards us.
As the two countries trade charges of war crimes, the battle for East Ukraine has heated up, with Putin's troops carrying on relentless bombardments. Bureau Report, India Today.
And India Today is the only channel that's actually gotten you up close with the Ukrainian defense and frontline as well. Infantry troops and units that have been awash with NATO advanced weapons since the beginning of this war. That's made it possible for Ukraine to mount such a credible fight back against the overwhelmingly superior Russian military. Take a look at this report.
2, 1, push!
Carnage, brutal atrocities, bloodshed and bodies strewn all over. Ukrainian cities are ravaged. The front lines of the war also paint a picture of a country in an all-out war. Ukraine says its troops are locked in a no-holds-barred assault on Russian troops, revealing that warriors in Netflix series made on the country have also joined the war front. The official Twitter handle for the defense of Ukraine tweeted images of armed Ukrainian soldiers on combat duty on the front line, patrolling the border with Russia, snipers keeping guard to target Russian troop movements, and constantly firing with machine guns and automatic guns in a bid to check Russian advances. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry tweeted a video of its air and land assaults, including rocket and missile firing targeting the Russian troops. It says it's managed to kill thousands of Russian troops. The images tweeted by Ukrainian troops showed bodies of Russian soldiers killed in the war lined up. Many of the images are extremely gory, showing bloodied remains of Russian soldiers, many still in their uniform. The images also show alleged Russian spies arrested by Ukrainian troops. Ukrainian troops are using mobile missile launchers to wipe out Russian armor. As the war rages on in eastern flanks of Ukraine, there are signs that fierce Ukrainian fightback will make Putin's aim of a strategic salami slicing of Ukraine much more difficult. Bureau Report, India Today.
And here's the thing, there are even more weapons that are flowing into Ukraine right now. The Ukrainian military is already awash with advanced NATO weapons, but there are even more. For instance, the Switchblade, American Switchblade 600 drones. These aren't the usual Switchblade ones that are being supplied, but Switchblade 600, which are basically tank-killing kamikaze drones. Then you've got the MAM laser-guided bombs that are basically deployed off the Bayraktar drones, which have been giving sleepless nights to the Russians. More of those are going to be coming in. The Czech Republic has been cleared to supply old T-72 tanks, to the Ukrainian army for its own armored capability against the much superior Russians. BMP-II fighting vehicles, which are armored, capable of carrying Ukrainian troops, are also going to be cleared to roll in very soon. Estonia is also supplying Ukraine with, among other things, 122mm howitzer guns, towed artillery guns, which have been used to some effect by the Russian side. And finally, Poland has been cleared to supply some Mi-17 utility helicopters as well. So it's a situation where things are already the battlefield of Ukraine is full of advanced and legacy weapons between both sides. And one of the weapons that could prove to be a game changer is the Switchblade. It's a suicide drone that's basically designed to loiter in the air, find targets, and then dive out of the sky and kill them. We told you about the Switchblade that the US will be supplying to Ukraine, but now we know that a more advanced version called the Switchblade 600 has also been cleared for supply to Ukraine, and this one has basically been designed to destroy tanks. Take a look.
Using its missiles and drones given by the West to make the war more equal, taking out Russian jets, choppers and tanks with devastating ferocity. Ukraine's fabled Bayraktar drones have been immensely helpful for embattled Kyiv, proving to be the Brahmastra in its arsenal. And now there's a massive leg up for Ukraine, as Pentagon plans to gift it 10 of the newest Switchblade drones with the reputation of the most potent tank killers. Under a $300 million aid to Ukraine, the tank-buster drones work in kamikaze fashion, plunging at the target after waiting stealthily. The swift suicide dive ends in complete destruction of the target. The Switchblade 600 drone, weighing 24 kgs, is designed specifically to attack tanks flying distances up to 40 kilometers, loitering over a target for about 40 minutes. They can also use warheads meant for javelin missiles. The small drones, made by Aerovierment Ammunition Major, carrying a warhead, detonates on impact. As officials call it, the flying shotgun. The early version of these dive-bombing drones was secretly sent to Afghanistan in 2010 to fight the Taliban. The US says the Switchblade 600s are a higher level of technology that provides Ukraine additional capacity to go after Russian armor formations. Will the new Brahmastra drones in Ukraine arsenal prove to be a game changer in the combat? Bureau Report, India Today.